consumer apps you can do there where you can be looking at your script, but the thing will reanimate your eyes so it looks like you're looking right at the camera.
It's great for self-tapes. Hi, and welcome to Storia podcast, where storytellers disrupt. I'm Fabiano Altamura.
And I'm David Noronha.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you, and it really helps us with the algorithm. So, bro, today, what are we going to talk about?
Artificial intelligence. There's been a couple of just recent stories that have come out. One that's actually just in the Hollywood Reporter just recently. It came out, and the title is this: Tyler Perry, who's obviously the writer, director, producer of the Medea series, has his massive studio there in Atlanta. Headline in Hollywood Reporter this week reads, Tyler Perry puts $800 million studio expansion on hold after seeing OpenAI's Sora. Now, for those of you that I don't know, have maybe been living in Cambodia, OpenAI are the creators of Chat GPT. Well, now they have this thing called Sora, which is actually described as text to video. So basically, you can put in a one-sentence prompt, a few words, and it will literally create customized video within seconds, a minute. Whatever it is that Tyler Perry saw, because it's not out yet for like consumers, but obviously they're trotting it out around major high-level Hollywood players like Tyler Perry, who's a billionaire. Whatever he saw scared him enough, got his attention enough to put an $800 million studio. He was going to add multiple additional sound stages. Sound stages, for those of you that don't know, are the big warehousey spaces where you make content, movies, TV shows, build sets.
It would have added an extra 12 sound stages to the 330-acre property. So just think about that. The impact of AI on the jobs that it would have brought to the industry in that area. Mm-hmm. But then it makes me also think, if Tyler Perry saw that, then what about all the current sound stages that have been built in Atlanta, like at Trilith? What's going to happen? What's going to happen there? How do you think it's going to impact our industry?
Oh man, I mean, I don't. It's funny because you and I have been kind of texting back and forth about this. I mean, I don't even think. I mean, just a buddy of ours just reminded us this Chat GPT thing kind of hit normal people like what, a year ago? Mm-hmm. Whatever.
2022, I think he said.
Yeah, year and a half, 2 years max, right? Yeah. For like the consumer, the normal person, my mom, my dad, you and I. And already, I mean, I have to say as a teacher, confessions of a teacher, because you and I both teach, I've been using Chat GPT to help me create my lectures, slides. Have? Oh yeah, I haven't told you this?
No.
100%. So I've read all the books. So I'm never like just not reading.
Is that not classed as plagiarism?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wow. But not if a student uses Chat GPT to write an essay, it's plagiarism.
Well, yeah, but I'm not using it to write anything original. So I'll give you the case study. All right. This is stupid, like literal example. And I know a lot of teachers that are using this. I'll say I've read a lot of my writing books 50 different times, but I'm trying to like maybe just extract some key points. Mm-hmm. I can say, hey, give me Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, 15 story beats, in 10 words or less per beat. Pop, 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 pop. I mean, I'm talking like in 20 seconds. I can then copy and paste that and put that in my slides. And then I lecture off of that. Gosh. And of course, so what would have taken me going back through the book. Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyways, that's lecture. My son, my sons and I are having this conversation because they're taking both high school and college classes. This is a real dilemma already for teachers. Mm-hmm. Already for teachers. In fact, we may have even had some incidents of our school where.
Oh, we have had incidents at our school.
Where that's been used. Okay. But now that's a stupid little example, right? We're just student, honesty and all this kind of stuff. For a billionaire Hollywood mogul like Tyler Perry to put pause on $800 million. Mm-hmm. What jobs would we, well, actually, if you go through and you read the Hollywood Reporter article, which both you and I did, I mean, he's talking about, think about it, the construction workers of the sound stages. Sounds small, but meaning like it's a moment, right? It's 6 months, a year of construction jobs. All those people out of work. Yeah. They're not going to be hired for that job. And there's what, 50, 100 different, 300 different construction jobs gone. All right, now you talk about, okay, what happens in the soundstage?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a soundstage, for those of you that have never gone to like a Universal Studios or something, this is where they build all the sets for the cop shows, the doctor shows. Okay, well, if you can build virtual sets in a moment that you can place actors in, we don't need to build sets anymore. Tyler Perry in this article goes on to say that in a movie where they had to age him or de-age him,
Oh, yeah.
he didn't have to sit through hours of makeup and special effects makeup. That's great for him, which honestly, it's great for these actors that don't have to sit 3 hours at top and bottom of every day. But the special effect makeup artists out of work.
Good Lord. I mean, like, how, because I know LED screens, right? They were cutting locations down probably by 60%.
Yeah, a lot.
Right? So does that mean that even that kind of technology is going to become obsolete?
Obsolete, sure. Why? I mean, think about it. So the LED technology, which is really super cool, and for those of you that are Star Wars geeks, the Mandalorian series was one of the first series to utilize what was called the volume. This was Lucas's big soundstage space, and they had these massive, massive LED screens. Think of them like your TV, but like on steroids, massive. Okay. So they put these things behind these actors. And I remember when I first saw the show, because I watched it with my daughter a couple times, I was like, where did these people shoot these things? It looks like you're out in some desert or Icelandic, Greenland kind of, I mean, it looked epic, bro, and expensive.
Yeah.
And then I watched the behind the scenes. They're on a soundstage. It's an amazing technology. You've got effectively a massive screen, but the screen uses gaming technology in the camera so that when the camera moves, the background moves along with the actor and follows it all. I mean, it's super complicated. It's like the actors in a video game, effectively. But then, additionally, they would use practical sets to match and to.
So if it's like a beach and you're walking on sand, they'll put some sand down, but then it goes straight into the
right. Or if there's a spaceship on the desert, they have half the spaceship, but the rest is actually in the screen, not practically built. So it's a piece of a spaceship.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe none of that now is needed at all.
And then you go another level, and then say, how will that affect animation? How will that affect practical,
Animation, forget about it. Like,
I mean, 'cause it's more expensive to shoot animation than it is to shoot.
Oh, it's incredibly expensive.
So that'll cut the cost down there. But then what about actors?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's where I think it starts to get a bit scary. Like, I mean, there's all these other different apps called like Descript and all these other things where basically it can reanimate your eyes. This is something Lucas did with the little boy in one of the, the reboot of the Star Wars franchise a decade ago. The little boy, he wanted to kind of move where the boy's eye line was, and they had to digitally replace that afterwards. Now there's consumer apps you can do there where you can be looking at your script, but the thing will reanimate your eyes so it looks like you're looking right at the camera.
It's great for self-tapes.
Which I've got to do one later today. No, that's phenomenal. But think about that. Like all those animators, all of those CGI technicians. The question now, and I mean, I think the union was on strike in no small part because of these issues. And now something like Sora, the Chat GPT, thing hits in it.
So you can imagine A-listers in the future might not be humans. You could create this AI generated actor who's in all these movies. But I think one thing it does do, though, AI is still technology and it doesn't have a soul.
No, it doesn't. And I think you can feel it. Like, I mean, don't you even feel it sometimes with a lot of these CG films?
Yeah. I mean, back in the day with the whole kind of green screen stuff, that just didn't feel real. And the acts, I remember Ewan McGregor when he was doing the Star Wars and playing Obi-Wan Kenobi, he was like
talking to a tennis ball.
Yeah, exactly. It was horrible. And, I mean, I think, but that's where your imagination comes in and it works differently for different people. But I mean, I think you can't put the soul of God into, a generated character. So how can it replicate true emotion well? Like, you see an art, a painting by Van Gogh or by Da Vinci. You'll be moved by it because you see the detail and the craftsmanship that's gone into it. But if it's AI generated and somebody says, do me, generate me a picture like the Mona Lisa,
which it can do,
but does it have soul to it?
Yeah. And I think this is where you bring up a really important question and topic. There's no doubt technology is already doing it with music. There's pop artists that actually use melody generators, and there's software that'll do it because it's been fed every hit pop song and will tell you that if you do this melodically and you do this kind of leap, you can sound like this person, that person. It's all math. Music is math. And so we've been seeing this in music for a long, long time. You just have to listen to pop for 5 seconds to see that the human voice right now is being corrected. If you go back and you listen to the music from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, which I was doing some work in my backyard, and I was listening to this stuff there's pitch problems all over the place, all over the place. But it sounds real. It sounds like a human being that is not robotic. If you listen to like hyper pop now, what's interesting is I've been thinking a lot about this in terms of food. And I think you and I were talking about this a little bit over the weekend when we were kind of taking this announcement in, because we were just in Atlanta, and I think we were talking about like the changes that were coming to Atlanta. And this, for me, this at least put a little bit of a question mark there for one.
Well, definitely for, for the studios we were
for our friends and,
exactly.
And, that are there. But I was thinking about food, and I was thinking about how machines, farming, food creation and processing has changed over just the last 50 to 60 years, right? Sure, it's convenient to have canned things and microwavable things.
Yeah.
But I think we're now paying the price for that in terms of nutrition.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We have food that fills us, but they're empty.
No nutritional value.
And there's no nutritional value. But it's been engineered to push all the buttons of the human brain. The fat content, the sugar content, the taste palate thing. And so we keep eating it. Almost like horses at the trough that will just, if you feed a horse, they'll eat till they explode. So here's the question. Are there a group of people on the planet that have both the luxury and the awareness, because it is a luxury to some extent to be able to choose your food, to have food? There's a group of people on the planet that are pushing back and saying, I want to eat better, healthier food. You see this in Europe and, no high fructose corn syrup and this thing and that thing and folate and folic acid, all these things that we put on our food, pesticides, organic. So there's a pushback on that. It makes me wonder if we'll see the same pendulum swing.
I think it's inevitable, isn't it?
You think? Yeah.
Oh, I do. Because I think that people still want authenticity. And whereas I love technology, I can't say like I'm massively well versed in it, but I do love technology. But I still don't think it's something authentic. Like if it makes something authentic more beautiful, then use it. But I think there will be a pendulum swing to, people that want to like, why does Nolan like to go back and shoot on film and not use digital?
He's a beautiful purist who,
what I mean? So you're always going to have those purists that are going to want to have maybe a lower budget film with real actors in it that don't want to use CGI, or they might use AI to enhance their movie.
Yeah.
But I think people are still yearning for the authentic.
See, here's the question, going back to your Van Gogh example. And this is where I get, and the question is are people going to care enough? Are people going to care enough? I was thinking about what AI represents. Human beings by our very nature tend to be a bit tribal, whether it's political parties, nationalities, so on and so forth. We're naturally inclined to resist the foreigner or the foreign object. Our bodies do it when we feel like something's invading us. So we see this pattern replicated in humanity over and over and over again. And this is what I've been thinking about. Will we at some point as humanity say, I go to art, I go to content, I go to music, I go to stories. I'm reminded of what Erwin McManus said. I said, why do you watch movies? He said, to remember what it means to be human. So are we going to it for the calories? Are we going to it for the sugar and fat and the quick hit and the endorphin hit and the rush? Do we care?
I think most people don't
care.
No, I think you'll notice that in a lot of times. People just want convenience. That's why there's a massive epidemic of obesity in America, right? And we're not talking about nutrition now, but I'm just saying most people don't care. They want the convenient. I think most people want to be consumers rather than creators. And I think there will always be a pushback from certain people. Always. It's been like that in history. Like when you just watch the Hunger Games, you always have the elite and then you have the people on the fringes that are like going back to farming, going back to, you know, like farm to table restaurants rather than eating at fast
Jeremy
food.
Clarkson and Clarkson's Farm.
Jeremy Clarkson, Clarkson's Farm, amazing TV show.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you'll always have pushback. Always.
Yeah, I think the humans are going to crave being in a small venue, you know, seeing that live acoustic guitar and that singer will always, I don't know, man. I mean, yes, I go to art or I go to creativity or I go to content for entertainment. I go to it for information. I also go to it to be moved. Here's a big question that is coming up though on this topic of AI, which is that there are some kind of thinkers out there that are saying that the actual biggest danger is a breakdown in trust.
How so?
If I can't trust that what I see and I hear is real, there's a complete break. I mean, our financial system, believe it or not, is based on trust. That this piece of paper is equal to this, that, or the other, right? The labels on the back of our thing. If I hear a political person, you know, a president, a senator give a speech, and I know, I mean, you heard what happened to Taylor Swift, the porn video where they replicated her face and put it on somebody else. Did you hear about this?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. They made a fake clone of Taylor Swift, and they released this right around the time of the Super Bowl. They did this.
That's so terrible, Fab.
It was horrendous. It's horrendous. Can you imagine? But this is just the beginning.
Of deep fakes, tons of them, yep.
This is the other side of this. So there's this podcast that I listen to called How I Built This by Guy Raz.
Yeah.
And incidentally, just last night, I was listening to this particular episode, which I want to recommend everybody check out. How I Built This, Guy Raz. Here's the title. It came out just a few days ago. The Peril and Promise of AI with Tristan Harris. Now, Tristan Harris, for those of you that don't, haven't been kind of tracking with all this AI stuff, he actually worked for one of the big tech industry. I think it was Google. And he signaled this issue 10 years ago because he saw what Google was doing with human attention. He said, if we keep going down this route, we will have a bunch of distracted, deficient human beings. This is what we're doing now, is that we are now taking over your toilet time, your sleep time, your wake time, your car time. The human eye and the human attention is actually the most important commodity being sold right now.
Well, that's what I heard. I was talking today. I don't know if it wasn't actually to you. This actually came up. He said, you know, we're being told now that the biggest currency on the planet is attention.
100%.
But he said, I want to go against that and say that the biggest currency on the planet right now is leadership. Which I thought was very interesting.
As control. Attention as control? Or
well, just as like, you know, attention obviously is, but the thing that we need more than anything, and he thinks the currency that we need more than anything is leadership.
Yes, because otherwise the powers that be will come into that vacuum.
Right. And like, you know, with regards to technology, I think, you know, Elon Musk was talking about it, that it's way beyond controllable right now. And you know, the thing that he's had, what's it called? I love the irony of it, right? Like he says, you know, he says that
now he's embedding it in human brains.
Yeah. But I think if technology, like for example, the way that I could see that being used for good is if somebody can't walk and
which is the way they're selling it right now.
Right. Which I think, great, maybe use that.
Sure.
You know, but I do think
that's not where it's going to stop, though.
No, of course it isn't. And I think, you know, I think isn't it? It's in the Bible with the increase of technology. It's like another sign of the end of the age. But not that I'm going into any conspiracy theory or trying to, you know, exposit on any kind of eschatology here. But I do think that it's scary, but I think there could be good that comes out of it. And what we need to realize is this technology is still nothing compared to the technology God has and the power of him. I mean, like, let's look, if you were to look at omnipotence, omniscience, and what's the other one? Omnipresence.
Yeah.
As technology, I think he has the monopoly on everything, right?
Well, and here's the thing that's actually lacking that God has in spades: wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing that it lacks. You know, there was Chat GPT freaked out like 3-4 days ago. Did you hear about this?
No. Dude, I don't watch the news.
People overnight, people overnight prompted Chat GPT. They asked it some questions, and it literally, you know, we've already heard that it hallucinates. It makes stuff up. I don't know if you've heard about this, but yeah. So Chat GPT occasionally will just have hallucinations.
Like a glitch or something?
Yeah, there's some kind of glitch in its understanding. But and who knows? And here's the crazy part. They don't actually know why it's happening. That's the part that's scary. So they know that it happens. They can see that these hallucinations happen where it just makes stuff up. But just about 3-4 days ago, there was a bunch of people that kind of like sent out to customer service or help or whatever at ChatGPT and just basically said like, it's actually, and I read some of it. I wish I had it. It literally sounds, you know, like, you know, my grandmother and having dementia. Like, I mean, it was just a string of English words all put together. You went there. Now, Tristan Harris, co-founder of Center for Humane Technology, he's been advocating for ethical, humane technology since the advent, since his time.
What is that? Well,
what's ironic to me is that people that may or may not necessarily say that they're religious or whatnot, what there is common belief on is that without ethics, this thing will derail. And it reminds me a lot of Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
When we split that atom,
mm-hmm.
we weren't 100% sure whether or not we were going to set the world ablaze. There's a beautiful scene in Oppenheimer
mm-hmm.
where Matt Damon asks
mm-hmm.
him that question. And he's like, almost certain, 99%
mm-hmm.
certain. But there was 1%. Think about television.
Mm-hmm.
Think about social media. All of these things have had some good and some bad.
Mm-hmm.
Some would argue that social media, and I would argue this, I think has been more detrimental than beneficial to humanity.
Because of the people that have got influence on it.
Yep.
But we look at AI and we always have the default that we always think it's maybe the devil that's created it or something.
Mm-hmm.
But what if God created it and we're just not leveraging it for his kingdom?
Well, think about it, bro. He made us. He saw this coming. He's not like, wait, what happened?
No, he's not.
What are you talking about? Robots? AI? Where did
Yeah.
He saw this. I believe that there are some technologies. Bill, I think, says it best, and we've quoted him a couple times saying this: human reason outside of the presence of God is demonic by nature.
Yep.
Whatever stream you come from, it's kind of like this. Without God's wisdom, this thing will get corrupt and perverted. Without the ethics of God, without the morality of God, and I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about common sense. I'm talking about teenage girls cutting themselves and comparing themselves to other people and Generation Z suffering from attention, deficit disorders and depression and mental health issues. Mm-hmm. This is coming because of this technology.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, we've all heard this. He didn't let his kid have an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a cigarette, Marlboro guy saying, don't smoke in my house.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is interesting, but how do we, like with what's it called? The implant that Steve...
It's the Neuralink.
Neuralink. So the Neuralink, I think, and this feeds into like whatever you believe on the mark of the beast, but they make everything look good and always market it with a positive.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, it's all going to come down to how can there be more surveillance? How can there be more control?
More money too.
More money. It's always an income generator. So they'll say that AI is going to be great because it's going to take away the jobs that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there might be certain jobs that I do want to do that AI is taking away. I mean, I do think we have to, if we're going to survive in this world, we can't. Well, you can rebel against the technology. I don't know how well that will feed you. Like you're saying, AI creates all these movies. Then what leaves us left? Live concerts and theater. But the point
what will
is,
content be?
what will content be? And people may go there, but at the end of the day, you're in theater now, you're in music. It's hard enough to earn a living. So unless you kind of capitulate and go that way and join the masses, how are you going to do it?
You can rebel, but at what cost? Look at the Amish. The Amish, when they run, they have a decision-making process for their community. Whenever there is a new technology, they always ask, how will it impact family? How will it impact our relationship with God? And how will it impact our community? That's how they run it all the way through. So one of the reasons, say whatever you want about the Amish, but one of the reasons why they don't have the car and they use horse and buggy is so that you'll never get too far away from your community. That's their thinking behind it.
Which is beautiful.
Which is amazing.
It's short-sighted as well, but beautiful.
It comes at a cost. Yeah. It also means you'll never see, Hawaii.
Yep.
Right? So whether it's that you want to step into a black box theater and see human beings, I think we're going to see that forever because there'll always be a group of people that want to see opera and theater. But let's admit it, it's not as many billions of people that are on their cell phones on TikTok.
Yep.
Right? We're talking about a few 100,000, maybe a couple million people on the planet that want to watch opera. Okay? Billions that are on social media and on Amazon Prime. So I think for me, the question is always like, you can rebel, you can say no, but at what cost? Interestingly enough, and maybe we'll kind of end around this, is that Texas and Florida are now pushing suits against social media platforms around the First Amendment, but also in terms of issues around social media and their kids. We've been having this whole conversation about TikTok and everything else. So it also looks like this is brewing to go to the Supreme Court to see what states can do by way of limiting either the deletion of content or access of content. So it's the wild, wild west, man.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, that's why God has got to come back to the family unit. You can legislate against that kind of stuff, but we're far too advanced to try and stop that moving train right now. It's impossible. It's got to come down from the cultural aspect of the family. Otherwise, it's never going to change.
No, you've got the unit. You've got from the high up, and then you've always got from the family unit coming inside out.
Yeah. So I think there is definitely positive in it, but I also think the negative right now, if not under right leadership, is going to way outweigh the positive.
Yeah, I think it's going to get ugly for a bit. I think it's going to get ugly for a while because governments always lag. Look at social media. We're 10, 15, 20 years behind. We're still having the argument around TikTok, although no politicians and no governments are allowed access to TikTok because they're afraid of this. But it's okay for your teenage son or daughter to have it, but not for a senator to have it. You can see the lag in that particular thing. I think if you were the horse and buggy guy, when Henry Ford came around, I think it hurt. I think we can talk about the story from the high level of like, hey, ultimately, we've always gotten to the other side of splitting the atom bomb, the car, the TV, the radio, the hammer, the chisel, paper, the printing press. We've had massive, revolutionary, destabilizing technologies. There's always a destabilization. If you're the horse and buggy guy, it's going to hurt. If you're the copywriter, it already hurts. People have lost their jobs. And now it turns out that maybe if you're a set builder in Hollywood,
it's going to hurt,
or a scenic designer, it might really hurt.
And people want convenience. Thank goodness I've been out to the theater a couple of times the last week, but I'm not going to lie to you. When I've got home from work, when I've done my workout, I'm like, I just could stay inside. And you go to your phone. I've got the theater on my phone. So convenience again. People want convenience. I think naturally with all this technology, people have become inherently lazy.
Yeah. And I think we always will gravitate towards the cheapest, fastest, easiest,
and the easiest route. Yeah. But we need to start doing things that are hard and cost us.
Amen. And on that note, man, let's see, to be continued.
Yeah.
Sora, OpenAI. We'll see. We, however, are live human beings, and it's been a pleasure being with you.
It's been a pleasure. This is not an AI-generated podcast. Well, we look forward to seeing you next time. You've been watching Storia podcast. I'm Fabiano Altamura.
And I'm David Noronha. We'll see you next time.